Thank you for being here this morning. We have, as of this morning, charged Darren Banks and Brian Palmer, each with one count of murder for the death of Malaysia Robson. Each defendant is also charged with one count of battery with a deadly weapon for the wounding of the adult at the incident that occurred in the 3500 block of Whitfield Street. Anticipating your question regarding consideration of the death penalty or life without parole, there are 3 aggravating circumstances in this matter which would justify that consideration. Those aggravating circumstances are that the victim was less than the age of 12, that the killing was committed by discharging a weapon, a firearm, into an inhabited dwelling, and that the death occurred as a result of discharging a firearm from a vehicle. In Indiana, if you recall, as we discussed on any number of occasions during the Richmond Hill explosion case, in Indiana, a murder can be charged as intentional, meaning it was your conscious objective to do so, or it can be charged as knowing, which means that you are aware of a high probability that the conduct you're engaging in could result in death. These individuals have been charged with knowingly killing Malaysia Robson. As a consequence, absent any additional information that might be developed in this case, it is not a matter that would be appropriate for consideration of the death penalty. However, as in the Richmond Hill case, it would be appropriate for consideration as life without parole. I would like to commend, in particular, Detective Ingram and the other investigators from IMPD and our deputy prosecutors, Ryan Mears and Jeremy Typin, for their excellent work and efficient work in this investigation and allowing us to bring these charges today. Chief Roach?
Well, thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. I just wanted to take a moment and thank also Detective Ingram and all the detectives that worked so hard and painstakingly on this case, along with the prosecutor's office. They worked hand in hand from the beginning of this. I also think we'd be remiss for not acknowledging the importance of the community and them coming forward. We've talked about the kind of cooperativeness that's needed from the community, and this case showed that. At the same time, this case isn't over, and I think the prosecutor can probably tell you much better than I can that this is only the beginning, and the real work now starts with the prosecutor's office and these investigators. We are still looking, and I think in your packet, for 2 people of interest. There are no charges against these 2 individuals, but they are of interest, and we would like to talk to them and are struggling finding them. So we would reach out to the community and to you all as our media representatives in order to get this information out. I believe you have their photos, but we were looking for a Dara Banks, date of birth 1/5 of 1990. She's 28 years old. Also a Sydney Gwynn, date of birth 12/8 of 92, who is 25 years old. We appreciate the cooperativeness. It's something that has become expected here amongst our prosecutor's office and our police officers. And now we're starting to get some input from the community, which is so appreciated. So thank you, Mr. Prosecutor.
Any questions?
Can you talk about what role Banks and Glenn played in this, and why do you want to talk to them?
No, I cannot at this time. We can only speak to what's in the probable cause, which indicates that there were these 2 individuals who have been charged stated that they were in the rear seat of the vehicle that was involved in this incident, and that there were 2 women who were also in the vehicle, one of whom was driving, and beyond that, I can't speak to anything that's not in the probable cause.
So you don't have warrants for them right now?
No, as the chief indicated, these 2 individuals have not been charged with the crime. They're just individuals of interest that obviously our investigators would like to interview and have been unable to locate at this point.
Why should people help you find them if you won't tell why they're needed?
Clearly, as the chief has indicated, these are individuals of interest, and beyond that, it is thoroughly inappropriate to speak to anything that's not in the probable cause. I think anyone can put together that we believe and the investigators believe that these two individuals might have information related to the incident, and that's why they want to talk to them.
Is it fair to say that while they're not suspected of crimes as of this moment, that could change, there could be charges depending on what develops?
At this time, we have no information that would justify charging these two women with a crime. As I said, clearly the investigators believe that they perhaps have information related to this shooting and would like to interview them. From the time that the investigators began focusing on particular individuals, including the two suspects that have been charged, they have attempted to locate these two women and have been unsuccessful in doing so up to this point.
I think I know where you're going when you drew the distinction between knowing and intentional, but can you elaborate on why, in your view, that makes the death penalty inappropriate?
Because it would be inappropriate under Indiana law to charge a case as a capital case unless it was, in fact, intentional killing.
So that's legally impermissible?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So do you feel that it's inappropriate for the death penalty in this specific case?
Absent the development of any additional information, this case is not charged as intentionally killing Malaysia Robson, and absent that element, it is inappropriate for death penalty consideration. So as we stand here today, yes, this would not be a case that would be appropriate for as a capital case.
Can you talk about the motive? There was it says in the probable cause affidavit that there was some people were upset about things that were going on social media. Can you put that in perspective for the viewer who might be watching today? Why this rose to the level where we're going to take guns and shoot out the house?
Well, clearly, from our perspective, we would have no idea and can't conceive how a feud that starts on social media would escalate to this point. But it is the allegation that that's what occurred. It's incomprehensible to most of us, but certainly that is the information that was developed by the investigators and what has been set forth in these charges.
What was that dispute about in the first place?
That's not stated in the probable cause. I really can't speak to that, but obviously the allegation is that there was a dispute between two groups of individuals that began on social media, escalated into an actual physical fight, and then continued culminating in the shooting which occurred.
Two questions.
Yes.
One,
Yes.
the subject of intent is something that I think your office wrestled with here, right? Because it seems like proving that in court might be a hurdle because it's clear they didn't want to kill 1-year-old, there was some other target. Can you explain your thinking on that? Also, is there a reason you didn't file like gun charges? At least one of these men was a felon, right?
No.
No. Okay.
No. I'll answer the first question first. Just again, referring back to the Richmond Hill case, there was no evidence and certainly no indication that Bob and Mark Leonard intended to kill Dion and Jennifer Longworth. However, they set a series of events in motion that resulted in death, and the allegation was, and we proved, that they were aware of a high probability that could occur. And so in this instance, there's certainly no indication that these individuals have been charged were firing into the house anticipating that they were going to kill this particular victim, Malaysia. But again, under Indiana law, a murder can be charged knowingly, which means, as I said, that they should have been aware of a high probability that they do so, that would result in a death. As to your second question, in terms of firearms charges, I can't go into the details of any criminal history of these two individuals, but I can say this, that under Indiana law, it was entirely legal for these two individuals to be driving around on the streets of Indianapolis with AR-15s. I'll say it again. Under Indiana law, it is entirely legal for these two individuals to be driving around the streets of Indianapolis with an AR-15, an assault-type rifle. And it's not part of these charges, but again, to me, it raises the question is when are we going to have a serious conversation in the state and nationwide about sensible gun regulation for the ownership and possession of these sort of weapons?
What was the reason for the 72-hour continuance that was given last Thursday in court?
It's not unusual. That it is an option that we have, which would allow the opportunity to complete any additional steps that might be involved in the investigation, and including but not limited to searching for the two women that the investigators sought to interview.
Chief, if someone sees these individuals on the street, are they armed? Are they dangerous? What should they do?
Yeah, so we don't have any information that they are armed. Again, there are two individuals that we think have information about this case, and we want to talk to them, and they should call Crime Stoppers.
Mayor, how pleased are you that the people who police and prosecutors believe committed this crime, how happy are you that they are off the street? And what does that say about law enforcement? What does it say about our city?
Well, to echo what's already been said, I want to give a great deal of credit to the Marion County Prosecutor and his staff, certainly IMPD, and the work, the law enforcement related investigation that has culminated in these charges being filed. I also want to echo what the prosecutor and the chief said about the community. I think that many in our city have come to the realization that when a one-year-old is gunned down, well, when anyone is gunned down, but particularly someone as innocent as a one-year-old, it is morally unacceptable to stand idly by and not participate. And the community, I think, appreciates that, and I want to thank the community for their efforts. Look, I speak as the mayor, not as a prosecutor or a law enforcement official in this regard. I think that today's message is clear, and that is if anyone in our community has decided to resolve a dispute using a gun, you're going to lose.
Just to clarify, so they had legal permits for the weapons?
In Indiana, you only have to have a permit to carry a handgun. You do not have to have a permit to carry any sort of rifle-type firearm. That would include your shotgun to go hunting, it would include a .22 rifle, and it would include a semi-automatic rifle such as the weapons here. You do not have to require, you're not required to have any sort of permit to do so.
PC indicates only one of them is a rifle. Is there a permit for the handgun?
They're both AR-15 type weapons that were recovered from the vehicle.
What can our police department in our city do, and maybe this is a question for you, the chief, what can our police department do to try to get more people to come forward in other cases of unsolved murders and try to have the same kind of community outreach and get people more involved and more interested in helping the police department?
Sure. So we've been trying to do that, and I think getting better and better at it. But it's building trust. So it's the relationship that we need to have with the community. So it's cases like this when people come forward and we're able to use that information in a manner that people are able to remain anonymous. It's day-to-day interaction that each one of our officers have. I mean, they interact with over 1 million times each year with individuals within our city, and it's being part of the community, interacting, treating people well, and having more of a relationship than an enforcement type view.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.